Looking at example 3, you can see this is one of those situations where x squared has a coefficient. And what you're going to do whenever you have x squared with a coefficient, you cannot complete the square, which some of you are probably thinking, that's awesome, I don't have to do this problem. Not quite. Okay? When you have a term, a coefficient in front of x squared that is other than 1, all you're going to do is divide each side by whatever that coefficient is. So you can see my coefficient was -2. Can't complete the square when I have -2 as a coefficient, so I'm going to divide each side by -2, because if I divide by that coefficient, I'm going to get a coefficient of 1. So I just divide every single thing by -2. -2x squared divided by -2 is positive x squared. 8x divided by -2 is -4x. -18 divided by -2 is positive 9 equals 0. Now what I'm going to have to do is get rid of this 9, so I'm going to subtract 9 from each side. And I get x squared minus 4x equals -9. And I'm going to leave a little bit of room here on each side so that I can complete the square. And while I'm working through this, what I'm trying to do is complete the square on that left side, because you say I have x squared minus 4x, which is like x squared minus bx. Now when I do this, I know b is -4. Need to find half of b, which would be -2. And then I need to do -2 squared, which would be 4. So I'm going to add 4 to each side. And I get x squared minus 4x plus 4. I can factor that since it's a perfect square of x plus 1/2 of b, which would be x minus 2, because remember, adding a negative is the same as subtracting a positive, squared equals -9 plus 4 is -5. And I want to go ahead and solve this, so I'm going to take the square root of each side, but you should notice at this point I can tell there's going to be no solution. And you may be wondering, well, how do you already know it's no solution? If you look here on the right side, I'm taking the square root of a negative number, which is a big time no-no. You cannot take the square root of a negative number. You get what's called an imaginary number, which you will learn about in a couple of years probably. But for now, just understand that you can't get an answer when you take the square root of a negative number. So if we get to this point, there's no solution. So a couple of important things here. First of all, if you have a term in front of a other than 1, you've got to divide by that before you can get started completing the square. Once you do that, complete the square and solve. If you happen to take the square root of a negative number, you will get no solution. Now, you will not always get a negative number when you have a coefficient other than 1 in front of x squared. This is just a coincidence where you had a coefficient other than 1 and a negative square root. You need to understand these do not always happen at the same time. You will have some situations where you have a coefficient other than 1 and you get some answers, and you'll have situations where your coefficient is 1 that you'll get no solution. These are not necessarily related.